Many of our largest multinational corporations are unpatriotic. Many of these companies, in order to avoid paying our maximum of 35% income tax on corporations, have decided to keep their monies overseas in countries that offer anywhere from 0 to 16 or a bit more percent in income taxes on these corporations. To believe that most of these companies are making their income in the United States, most of this income from those in the middle class, most of those incomes from having a country, a rich country like the United States, that offer the wherewithal for them to have made those profits, for them to want to deny our treasury the 35% tax rate because another country that offers much less to the citizenry is able to provide them with such a low tax rate cannot be considered anything but unpatriotic. We, the middle class, we created a country that made a world of difference to corporations, a country that allows those companies profits they could not make in any other country, and to ask them to do their part should not be an issue. Many will say what we should do is reduce corporate taxes. Wrong. There are many other taxes that these supposedly tax havens provide that we don't. We don't have a value-added tax, national value-added tax, like many of these European countries who can afford then to have a lower corporate tax rate. Moreover, we don't have the savings that these corporations overseas have with a much better healthcare system that makes their total healthcare costs more than half ours. So, to have our corporations lobby Congress, lobby the president, to create a tax holiday to repatriate the trillions of dollars that they have overseas, that must not be allowed to occur. This has been tried before. In 2005, many of the companies got a tax break to repatriate their monies back into the United States, and it was not invested in creating jobs. It was not invested in research and development. Many of these companies used that repatriation of dollars to go ahead and have stock buybacks. And what did that do? It increased the price of those particular companies' stocks, which means the capital gains for the wealthy who owns their stocks went up, which means then those taxes were only taxed at those capital gains were only taxed at 15%, as opposed to having given the profits as dividends, which would have been taxed at the wealthy's maximum tax rate, which today would be 36%. So all these machinations are just one other way for the corporations, the oligarchs, the plutocrats, the wealthy, to pilfer the middle class. Look, already these large profits were attained from low wages, from misdeeds that actually increased these companies' profitability. Remember, the middle class has stayed stagnant over the last 30 years. Remember, 10% of our people in this country owns over 72% of the entire country's wealth. Many do not want to speak about class warfare, but in reality, we must. The middle class is continuously being squeezed. With our budget deficits, we're hearing that a lot of the Republicans would like the middle class to get less in Social Security, less in Medicare, as they provide more tax breaks to the wealthy, as they provide more tax breaks to the corporation, inasmuch as all the tax breaks given under Bush did not create employment, but allowed the wealthy to get wealthier because they were investing elsewhere. And all the reduced regulations did not increase our employment picture because our wages never went up. Look, let's be real. There is a problem in our system. And the problem is the direction of our wealth flow. And this will be the demise of America. Do not be mistaken by rhetoric about being in the largest tax country in the world. It's not true when looked at in the aggregate at all. Our lopsided wealth and income distribution is becoming what will be the demise of the United States of America. And you know what? The wealthy, the plutocrats, the oligarchs, the corporations, they're no longer calling themselves internally Americans. They're citizens of the world. When the pilfering of the middle class is done with, they will simply move on to the other country where they can get the best bang for their buck and where they can continue the national pilfering.